Welcome to Disruption Blueprint with Shannon Spotswood from RFG Advisory. In this podcast, we help advisors grow their net worth, build their businesses, and maximize their independence. We've built an award-winning platform with innovative technology, comprehensive service, and a team of individuals who are experts in their field to serve advisors. Join us for this journey where we explore everything that has to do with running an independent advisor practice as we bring together successful advisors, industry experts, and innovative minds who are on the bleeding edge to challenge the status quo, foster new ideas, and create a path for advisors to unleash their growth potential. Now, on to the show.
Welcome to Disruption Blueprint. I am so excited to be joined today by none other than one of my favorite people, Liz Fritz, co-founder of F2 Strategy. Liz, welcome to the show.
Hi, Shannon. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I've been really looking forward to our conversation. We're going to talk about how advisors add value for their clients. So you have gone through, obviously, as a co-founder of F2, a very successful recap of the company and went through firing a financial advisor, hiring a financial advisor. You had a very interesting and thoughtful process to do that. And one of the big unlocks that you discovered in walking through that journey and thinking very strategically about the value added from an advisor is this concept of the mental load of wealth. What does that even mean?
First of all, Shannon, thanks for creating the space for this conversation. And it really came to light as we were talking and really kind of reflecting on our journey. You know, not only did we recap our company, we moved across the country. A lot of things impacted our wealth over the last 10 years, being entrepreneurs and founders in our own right, and also being in the financial services industry. And I think a lot of folks maybe assumed that we knew a lot or that we had everything under control. But mental load, Shannon, is just that. I almost, to me, it's that laying in bed at 2:00 in the morning and going through my list, right? It's the list of all the things I need to do on a personal level and a professional level. And the mental load of wealth are boxes on that list, right? It's while we talk about the services and investment strategies, those are all great things, but there's so many moving pieces, Shannon, to a financial picture for somebody on the personal side that the list gets long, right? I mentioned a cross-country move. Things like now that we moved from California to Illinois, there's retitling of trust documents and all the different titling that we have to do through that. That's just one blip of what goes into the mental load, Shannon. And so before we as a couple, as co-founders, even had the mental capacity to think about investment strategy, it was almost this aversion to not even knowing where to start on that list, on that mental load, that as parents to young kids as well, it's, camps and dentist appointments, it's all in there. And so I think the industry, it's to me, doesn't articulate that as well as they could. And actually, it took me a lot of these types of conversations to articulate, like, yes, this is what mental load is. It's an additional layer of complexity that I have to hold and my husband has to hold, in addition to just thinking about traditional wealth strategy and investments.
So let's keep pulling on this thread, because I think there is a big unlock here for advisors who are articulating their value and to prospects and to clients. We often hear it simplified down to, I want my advisor to be my quarterback. I want them to be my quarterback. This is much more granular than just being my quarterback, than being that liaison between my CPA and my estate planning attorney. This is much more like, walk me through and help me to check all of those various boxes associated with, building wealth.
Yep. It's the operational complexity of wealth. If anybody I like to give the example of if you're, applying for a mortgage to buy a house, the hardest part is collecting all the documents and the K-1s and the tax returns. All of that is a complexity burden. It's not necessarily hard. It's just a weight that your clients are carrying, and to hold that complexity for your client in an organized, systematic way actually releases and gives us the space to think long term. We've had advisors that lead with planning. Candidly, Shannon, I couldn't even get to planning underneath that, being buried and having to hold that complexity, whether it was our family, AI tool that I was keeping our checklists and our calendars. And you really can't even look above the pile to
Right.
that financial planning lens. And like, where do we want to go from here when you're like, I have so much I need to organize and follow up on. It's tough to even breathe under that. And so having a partner, while the quarterback concept, and I've grown up in our industry, we've been good friends for a long time. So this quarterback concept, this wheel and spoke concept, I get it. I'm a marketer by trade, so I understand that when I look at different websites and value propositions. But it's really the story that, and the personal and emotional experiences that mental load creates. It's not just coordinating the introductions of the team. It's really ensuring that your CPA is talking to your advisor, who's talking to your estate attorney, and then managing all those to-dos underneath that.
How do you think an advisor who's like getting it, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I think it will first come from advisors who have a disproportionately large percentage of clients that are female, that will immediately, when they will hear this terminology of the mental load of wealth, it'll be like, ding, 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 ding. Like, I know exactly what they're talking about. How do you, putting on your marketing hat and your firsthand experience hat, how do you translate that into demonstrating value to your client? Is it creating a series of checklists? Is it the Domino's pizza tracker? Is it the way that you're communicating on a quarterly basis? Like, how does this go from what I think is a very buzzy, sizzle-worthy, tagline to implementation that there is real work being done for the client?
That's I love that perspective, because to me, and again, you mentioned it early on in this conversation, is like, we had to fire an advisor and look for a new advisor. Candidly, Shannon, I had a hard time finding an advisor local to our new area that led with any of this story, or even testimonials from other clients that understand what this is. Everybody had a great investment committee and a great investment strategy and lots of great market insights and all of those things, but really leading with the story, leading with what you're solving for. And so honestly, I looked for another advisor who was a woman that was around my age, around my phase of life with kids, because I knew at least she would get it, this subtle untold story that I'm not seeing on advisors' websites. But I know a lot of them do this for clients, and it's not being articulated in an externally facing way. So as a marketer, I see a true opportunity, because we've looked, Shannon, long and hard, also with our company, working with clients. It's hard to find any firm that really truly leads with this type of story. And while you did mention a lot of women, I mean, I get articles on, targeted articles all the time about the mental load of motherhood, the mental load of being a business owner and a mom, all these things. I also think it's gender neutral, meaning that whether you're in a partnership with a spouse, whether you're in a partnership with a co-founder of your business, you have to split up all these to-dos. And what I would love to see as a marketer in our space is to tell the story first, because I do think you do also speak to a lot of women that way, because we've kind of been balancing a lot of mental load on a personal and professional level, but also being underserved by an industry for a long time, right? And so there's this opportunity to just talk about this, have your clients talk about this, having access to other women or other business owners that are in this phase of life, balancing, low on time concept is really, really important. And I also think the only times I saw those examples, Shannon, were in the multifamily and family office space. It starts a lot earlier than that, right? Like the complexity of business owners that maybe have $2 million in revenue of their firm, they're really low on time, right? And then you're starting potentially a 30-year relationship with those folks. And so as a marketer, to go back to answer your specific question, I would love to see firms lead with that story, lead with that emotional mental load story first and have some testimonials so that I can see if I relate to those folks.
One of the things that I think is so important is that you immediately flagged, your husband, Doug, of shouldering a similar mental load. Like, this is not a women's issue, if you will.
It's not. And it's also not married partner issue. I want to make sure, like, as a business owner, I happen to be the co-founder with my spouse. Most people are not, right? And so understanding just the levels of complexity, really down to the sand of that mental load, Shannon, of checklists, of following up, of wherever your clients are holding that for them. I can't tell you how much of a weight that has lifted off of us. And the thing I get so excited about, because as a business owner, I think a lot of that can be operationalized and streamlined and mechanized
Mm-hmm.
behind the scenes, right? And so it's a scalable system. Once somebody identifies it, s- scales it, and then they can do it for all of their clients. But then that marketer voice is, how do we actually go to market and tell people we do this?
You're a systems thinker, so keep going with that. When you think about, because I can imagine a lot of advisors listening to this would hear that as a very bespoke service, and you see a scalable framework.
100%. So again, I can't help it. It's my business owner scale for, build for growth and scale. I'm also a huge dappler, I would say, in AI. And so I see a lot of opportunity and have used that for our own firm and for my own personal life as well. And so once you name it and operationalize this client experience, it's it's really identifying what are the touch points, what is that flow of journey you're taking your clients on throughout the year, building a system that alerts you as the advisor, you as the client relationship team, to reach out and check those boxes. And then Shannon, by doing that, you actually create space and time to, sometimes I say, leverage more of your humanness or time, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
variability happens in life, right? And so, for example, if the market is going crazy in our current system, maybe you have time to call and reach out to talk with your clients or take them out to lunch to just give them, like, it creates space to do more of that in person. And you've already identified, like, okay, these are the 24 or 72 touch points per year that we want to make sure that we're holding for our clients, right? And one of those is holding the checklist, maintaining the checklist, making sure there's roles and responsibility behind the scene of who is always following up on these little to-dos. And I do think there's a lot of ways to systemize and operationalize that so that an advisor can then scale it for their entire book.
I'll give you a data point that's going to blow your mind and validate why this is such a huge upside opportunity. Fidelity has a great study out where they have flagged that only that would be single digits, number 8% of clients say that their advisor is helping them manage their healthcare expenses, their family expenses, navigating conversations with the next gen about wealth, insurance planning. So these core table stakes, your healthcare, your conversations with your generational wealth inheritors, and your family expenses are not being addressed in the majority of advisor client experiences.
It's an incredible stat, but having done my own research, I completely believe it. And that's why I feel so excited to talk now, because there's such an opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think with women in particular as well, we talk about mental load a lot with each other and support each other through that, right? We all kind of talk about our tribe of friends, like it takes a village. When I'm sitting down, having coffee or playing mahjong or whatever with my girlfriends, we're not talking about the markets. We're not talking about what different
Right.
firms are buying different firms. We're talking about, like, can you help with carpool? Like, how are you managing, the whole mortgage, like, that we took out on our vacation home? Like, we're talking about supporting each other and helping each other through life. And I think that's the story to me that would really resonate with and naturally resonate with some of these women gatherings. I've been invited to different events with small groups of women that becomes more natural versus, Shannon, what are you like what
Right.
percent are you invested in? Like, I would never,
Yeah.
that doesn't come up naturally. Maybe you and I
Right.
would talk about that because we're in the space, but within my personal network. And so I think that actually ties up to referrals, right? So, like, if you're
Mm-hmm.
actually working with clients and providing them what mental load, I forget the research report, but there was something about female referees and NPS
Yes.
scores. You
Yep.
know what I'm talking about, but like we
It's
don't do
four
it.
to
And
one. Women
for
refer 4 to 1.
exactly. And I think it's because this story isn't be told. I think there would be a lot more of those, Shannon, candidly, if it came up in spaces in this concept of that mental load of lifting and the mental load of wealth. And again, because it's wealth agnostic, you could be a brand new business owner or you could be from a multifamily, the multi-generational billionaire family. It's the same topic.
Yeah. I was reading this really, kind of sad story, and this tale is, I think going to play out with increasing frequency given the age of the baby boomers and where we are and recognizing value in those businesses. But there was, this tale of the 58-year-old CEO business owner who died unexpectedly of a heart attack. So young at 58. His wife knew nothing, didn't know who any of the business partners were, didn't know any of the accounts, didn't know anything about anything. And this advisor was flagging, like, if you do one thing this year, have all of your business owners create a 1-pager with this information. And of course, like you, I can't help myself. It's like, I see it as marketing and I see it as swag. It's one of the two.
I know.
So I'm like, ooh, immediately I'm like, what a great 1-pager for an advisor to surface that insight. These are all my business owners. I've created this 1-pager. We're going to collect all this and I'm going to hand it to your spouse.
Yes.
As a gift. Like, we've got this on file in our digital vault. I want you to have a paper copy of it. In the event something were to happen, we know where, we know where to go, versus let's spend the next 9 to 12 months as forensic accountants trying to unwind this whole thing, which probably is going to end up in probate.
Yeah. And also, too, during a time of emotional hardship, right? Like, that is not the time you're going to want to talk to the 58-year-old spouse. I'd also say, Shannon, in my 40s, it's the exact same thing. The amount of friends that I talk to that have no idea. So it's more common. I think we like to think that all of us, kind of as we're getting younger generations, are more savvy and more involved. I don't think that that's necessarily the case, or not at least what I'm seeing. And so really empowering this new door of entry that's comfortable and understandable from like a wide range of wealth creators and also to women, right? It's this accessible space of, I bet a lot of them, I bet the spouse is managing a lot of the budgets or the bills or the school tuitions or whatever it is, right? And so making it accessible versus this other thing that my spouse manages, and then something catastrophic happens and you're thrown into this space feeling not only emotionally, personal loss, scared of not, what's going to happen to my family now.
Well, and what's interesting about it is I always feel like there's like a pejorative edge to, like, the women are not in the know. Most likely it's women not in the know on these things. And it couldn't be farther from the truth. It goes back to the mental load. They're managing so many other things. It's like, my spouse has it covered, or I just simply don't have the bandwidth for it.
Yeah. Or they're managing components of it, Shannon, and they don't see the forest, right, through the trees. And so they may be paying the bills, or they may be doing the taxes, or whatever they happen to be doing, but they're not seeing the big picture. And so that connectivity between the mental load to the macro, I think, is a story that's not told. Most websites that I see talk about the macro, which feels either unknown to a lot of my peers, or sometimes we joke and we refer to it like the dentist. Like, I don't want to talk. I don't want to deal with it. So I think there's that disconnect between the complexity of your financial life and that macro story of investment strategy and the spoken wheel services that you provide on your websites.
So one thing that, naturally as the wheels start spinning around advisors reimagining, how do I articulate, in a lot of cases, the work that I'm doing that a lot of other advisors are not doing? How do I position that on my website to demonstrate the value? The other thing that there's been an undercurrent of is a hunger for gathering, a hunger to bring women together, to bring men together, to bring couples together, to bring people together in a very intentional way in smaller groups to maximize that humanness, maximize that spirit of community. And you were saying, we're drowning in all of this noise. And there's a big opportunity for advisors to capitalize on that. How do you see that manifesting?
Oh, I think there's a huge desire for this, Shannon. I think both with the overwhelming amount of commitments to go to, from conferences to school fundraisers to nonprofit galas to all of these big gathering places are fantastic. But when I think about what is something really special advisors can give to their clients, I think of access. And so I think of access to obviously investments, access to do things financially, but I want to know access from my peers, right? Like I make decisions based on trust. And so trust and relationships. And I think our business is, to me, that's the foundation, beating heart of what we do. And so as an advisor, looking at your book of clients, and hopefully you've done some work to really segment, what is your niche? Who do you bring together? While it's good to have big summits and get all your clients together maybe once a year, bring them together in a very intentional way. Can be virtually too. If you've got clients all over the country, I love a virtual roundtable when it's all my peers and I get context of who these women or business owners are. So it's really that term on access. I've been told before, it's like, invite them to your family picnic, right? Like, who is your book of business family picnic? And they're going to show up and learn from each other, and you get to be the facilitator of that. And that helps you become a better advisor as well. So I'm a big advocate in this day and age of so much noise, so much busy, so little time. Create a couple spaces for your clients to connect that would get along or learn from each other.
I love that. Such good advice. So as you've transitioned to your new advisor who's really done a fantastic job of checking these boxes and creating space and helping to shoulder some of that mental load of wealth, what has it done for just your overall peace of mind and your ability to create from here?
It's such a great question, and I'll put on my client hat here because, again, I could never see the forest, Shannon, beyond the trees. The amount of mental load that Doug and I bore as business owners, as parents of young kids. My oldest is 13, so we're in the thick of it. I could never, and I always knew in theory, I grew up in this industry, so I knew there was financial legacy and long-term planning. But with all of those ducks in a row and somebody reminding me of the deadline to make, our kids are now starting to donate to charities, making sure those boxes are done, making sure my 401k amount is maximized, all that stuff actually gives Doug and I space to have conversation around, okay, what's next? It goes everything from, God forbid something were to happen to him or me tomorrow, right? Which, as you said, this story could happen to anybody. You could be hit by a bus. To where do we want our long-term family goals to be? Where do we see ourselves? And Doug and I never think really beyond 5 years, 5, 10, 15 years. We never had the space for that. And so for me, I think doing that, creating that systematic, scalable model, an advisor then can really have financial planning conversations with their client, because we didn't have the space or time to do that. The only time we thought about it was in our annual meeting when they walked us through the questions of the algorithm, and then it spits something out. And it lets us even have the space to toy with different options, right? And so to me, it just gave us time back to think about our financial legacy beyond just the to-do list, because that was burying us alive.
That is so good. I mean, I think this is just a hugely important topic. I believe, so passionately in our industry that the demand to work with independent financial advisors is growing and will continue to accelerate even as AI and Claude and all these tools proliferate. And it seems like, well, I can just ask Claude to do that. I actually believe that advisors will command a premium for their humanness, for their ability to connect, for their ability to sift through all of this noise and help build multi-generational legacies, not less.
100%. No, I actually think the power of judgment and trust will come at a premium. Of course, there's so many conferences in AI, Shannon, that you and I are both going to, and I got a really good conversation with an example from someone at one of the big AI firms, and it said if you ask Claude how to do heart surgery, it could walk you through the exact steps to do it. Do you want somebody that learned how to do that on Claude to do your heart surgery? No, you want somebody with a lot of great experience, a lot of judgment, and someone you trust inherently. And so while I do think that AI has a lot of where I see an opportunity to potentially scale some of these systems, Shannon, right? So like, can you create task lists? And yes, it can manage that for you so your team is on point. But to me, the trust and relationship deepening is going to completely come at a premium because you have to have human stories change every day. They're not data driven completely, right? And so to me, the power advisor is actually going to become more at a premium, more important. I did use AI right before you and I had our first conversation to ask Claude to see if he could find, because I'm a big, again, marketer, could see any firm that leads with this story of mental load of how I, have expressed it. It couldn't find one, right? And so again, there's this opportunity of clients like me, prospects like me, looking for help and being able to ask yourself the questions of what are they asking for, right? And getting your name out there because there's no one that's really doing it. And it's just surprising to me because it's been such a life changer for our family.
I love it. Such good advice. You always have it. And you really walk the walk on the small gathering. I mean, I love our time at Future Proof. You put together such a great group of women. And
I love it. I love it.
Those are my favorite forums.
They are. And if you're attracting the right type of clients to your book of business, you have this beautiful opportunity to bring those individuals together in a special way. And they're going to show up. It's not just your typical come to the ball game and
Right.
chat. It's really about let's learn and grow together.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Well, I feel like here at RFG, we'll accept the challenge. I've got some advisors in mind who do this really well in terms of shouldering the responsibility of the mental load of wealth. And we've got our work cut out for us to be able to articulate that more directly and more instinctively. So thank you so much, Liz. I always love being with you. This is just a great, it's a great topic. And what I love is exploring the future horizons of our profession. And I feel like this is exactly where the compass is pointing.
I completely agree, Shannon. I think it's something too that's really tangible, right? Like I bet a lot of your advisors are already doing this. I bet a lot of advisors do already do this, but it's articulating it, it's leading it, and then it's scaling it. And I just couldn't be more honored to be part of the conversation and bringing it out to light and letting me share a little bit of my marketing lens of how do you actually, as an advisor, take action on this opportunity and really, really start to add value back to those clients and potential prospects out there. So thanks for creating the space for this conversation.
I love it. Great being with you. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you for listening to the Disruption Blueprint podcast. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit our website at www.rfgadvisory.com or schedule a call on our advisor resources page. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Content here is for illustrative purposes and general information only. It is not legal, tax, or individualized financial advice, nor is it a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any specific security or engage in any specific trading strategy. Information here may be provided in part by third-party sources. These sources are generally deemed to be reliable. However, neither our guest nor RFG Advisory guarantee the accuracy of third-party sources. The views expressed here are those of our guest. They do not necessarily represent those of RFG Advisory, its employees, or its clients. This commentary should not be regarded as a description of advisory services provided by RFG Advisory or performance returns of any client. The views reflected in the commentary are subject to change at any time without notice. Securities offered by registered representatives of Private Client Services, member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered by investment advisory representatives of RFG Advisory, a registered investment advisor. Private Client Services and RFG Advisory are unaffiliated entities. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where RFG Advisory and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. No advisory services may be rendered by RFG Advisory unless a client agreement is in place. RFG Advisory is an SEC-registered investment advisor. SEC registration does not constitute an endorsement of RFG by the Commission, nor does it indicate that RFG or any associated investment advisory representative has attained a particular level of skill or ability.